Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm finally back with another figure review for you today. And I just want to say before we start the review, I'm very sorry for the delay on this one. I've actually had it filmed for a long time. I just haven't had the time to edit it with a new job and a lot of other things going on in my life right now. But I'm back today. Shout out to the commenter who reminded me to get this in gear, so I'm just going to go ahead and refilm it. So here we go. Without further ado, this is the review on the Bootleg S.H. Figuarts Darth Maul. So if you do decide to order this bootleg, it's going to come in the standard, pretty much identical S.H. Figuarts packaging. The box is probably going to be pretty banged up because I don't like to ship these things, nicely. That's the outer box, and then here is the inner sleeve for the actual figure, and you do get pretty much everything that comes with the real thing. You get all of the 6 sets of hands, you get the 2 unconnected lightsabers, you get the extra head right there. So without further ado, here he is. This is the Bootleg S.H. Figuarts Darth Maul. And I'm just going to get this out of the way right off the bat so you know whether or not you're going to want this figure. This figure has the same problems that the Clone Troopers did, where the joints are loosey-goosey, and you really do have to fight the figure to get it into a pose or to get it to do some of the things that you want. It's not quite as bad as some of those other ones, like, there, I just moved his arm up and nothing really happened, but, you can see how loose that joint is. There's not a whole lot to it, but, when you're posing, you just kind of have to be careful, and for me, like that's a perfectly good pose to stick on the shelf. And at the end of the day, I'm willing to fight this figure to get it into a pose to make it look good on the shelf. But if that's not you, disregard this, turn this review off, and go spend your money on the real thing. So now that's out of the way, how is the figure overall? Well, to be honest with you, this figure's pretty darn good. It's a lot better than the Luke bootleg that we looked at. We're gonna go macro in on the face here in a second because that's kind of like the main selling point. But if we just look at the figure's overall proportions, which is one of the strengths of the real thing, the real S.H. Figuarts, it really does an exceptional job at pulling off that look of Darth Maul from the Phantom Menace. Like it just looks like a little mini human that's been shrunk down. We'll bring in the Black Series one for comparison, and unfortunately, I don't have the real Figuarts for comparison, but this to me is just a cartoony version. This is like a collectible. So, they're about the same price. You can get the Archive Series Darth Maul with the photo real print technology for about the same price as this, and for my money, I'm gonna pick this one. That's just kind of is what it is. Okay, so jumping to our close-up view here, you can see the head with the paint and the sculpt on this guy is pretty darn good. The teeth are not very well painted. I will give it that. That's just kind of the nature of the bootleg. It's not going to be perfect, but all of his face tattoos and even the eyes just look phenomenal, especially when you bring in the Black Series one, where you can see the tattoos are not painted nearly as well. It just definitely has much more of a cartoony look than the Figuarts one does. And the same goes for the alternate head. You get a sort of calm, if I can get it up here, you get sort of a calm head here, and it's the same thing. The paints are just really well done, maybe a little bit different between the two there, but what are you gonna do? And this is a really nice sort of neutral expression for Darth Maul. The proportions are excellent, but my least favorite part of the figure, other than the loosey-goosey joints, is the hand switching, and I don't even really like doing it all that much because you get the pegs splitting so much. The hands really don't lock in at all like they would on the real thing. They pretty much just sit there based on friction. And that comes, I think, from a lot of paint gunking up inside the hands, and you combine that with the fact that the joint itself is not actually very strong. You can see that it's splitting just from me putting that hand on. But at the end of the day, he will hold the saber and the hand will stay in place when he's posed on the shelf. And to me, that's pretty cool. I think I think that makes this a functioning system. I just never really like to change the hands out. I leave him essentially with that sort of open hand and then the saber wielding hand. So, and then speaking of the saber itself, it's exceptionally well detailed, and the silver paint is on par with the actual Figuarts figure. Like it's just insanely well done. And I'm not sure if this is how it is on the real thing, but you just pop the blades out if you were to want to switch them into the regular handle. But if you're like me, you're keeping your Darth Maul pretty much with the double-bladed lightsaber at all times, unless you have my sort of alternate look here that I have with the Black Series. But it's a good time to compare the two. You can see the Black Series handle is thick. It's not as well painted. The blades are like a different shade of red. Definitely a win for the bootleg Figuarts. And then just to talk about overall what the articulation can get you, you get your basic Figuarts range of motion. The butterfly joints that are up on the top right here, they seem like they're a little bit gunked up, but they do work. Oh, that wasn't even in shot. And then you get, just a little bit past 90 with the elbow there. Don't like to move the hands at all. The head, you get a little bit of tilt, a little bit of, not much. Some forward, some back, not a ton there. A lot of that is probably because that neck joint is pretty stiff. Under the robes, doesn't really have the drop down. Oh, yeah, see, there comes the leg. Doesn't really have the drop down joint like you would on the actual Figuarts, but that big old knee disc thing, that point of articulation is there, and it does work just fine. The ankles are a little bit finicky. Not a whole lot of forward and back. I keep going out of frame, sorry about that. Not a whole lot of forward and back, but the toe joint does work. The rocker, once again, is a little bit stiff, probably just some paint gunk up in there, but I'm not getting him in any crazy dynamic poses. I'm basically just doing sort of, I'll say vanilla lightsaber poses, and there goes his hand. Okay, so size comparison time. Here is the bootleg S.H. Figuarts standing straight up. We've already done the comparison with the Black Series Darth Maul, but once again, here he is. Heights are about comparable, but once again, proportions are better on the bootleg. Let's bring in an actual S.H. Figuarts figure, and that is the S.H. Figuarts Revenge of the Sith Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he's probably not going to withstand. There we go. For me, this size works just fine. They are about the same height in the movie, I would say. Maybe Darth Maul's a little bit taller, but not by much. And then here's a pretty good comparison for more of the budget conscious, collector, and that would be the Phantom Menace Black Series Obi-Wan Kenobi. And to me, this is perfect. I didn't buy the, Figuarts version of the Padawan Obi-Wan here because this one's so good. Highly recommend you buy this one. But that size works for me. He's a little bit tall, but once you get Obi-Wan sort of crouched in like a, lightsaber wielding position, it works. It's not perfect, but it works. The proportions are a little bit thicker on Obi-Wan, maybe than Darth Maul, just because of the nature of the two different companies and how they make their figures. Finally got Obi-Wan to stand there. But, at the end of the day, this is great. This is a perfect display, in my opinion. Nobody's going up to my Darth Maul being like, oh, that's not like an authentic S.H. Figuarts Darth Maul. No, he pulls off the look of Darth Maul as good as the regular S.H. Figuarts thing can. It's just a matter, at the end of the day, of what you want to do with the figure if you want to fiddle around with it. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on that. Okay, so conclusion time. Would I recommend the bootleg S.H. Figuarts Darth Maul? Yes, absolutely. And once again, as I said earlier, if you're not the type of person that doesn't like to fiddle with their figures, then this is not for you. You have to understand what you're going to get here, and you have to be willing to sort of work with it and be patient. And some people just aren't like that, and that's totally fine. But I am willing to fiddle with a figure. I think it's kind of fun, actually, and it pays off because I get a really nice looking Darth Maul figure at the end of the day for a fraction of the price of the real deal. That's the thing I want to stress here, because I'm not going to talk about the morals of this because, yes, this is technically just something that was stolen from another company. It's true. But for me, a budget conscious collector, I keep saying conscience, it's not the same thing. This is the best option. I don't want to shell out $100+ to get the actual thing. And I haven't priced them in a little bit, so maybe they've dropped a little bit since the restock. I don't really know. But for me, I have no reason to get it when I have a figure that looks this good sitting in my display. So, go ahead and comment down below. And I'm not going to get into the whole moral debate about this with anybody. I will simply ignore your comments. That's up to you to decide whether or not you want to get this for moral or legal reasons. I'm not going to get into that whole thing. So, but let me know in the comment section, what do you guys think of the S.H. Figuarts Bootleg Darth Maul? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Are you going to get one? Are you not going to get one? I try to answer you guys as quick as I can. So, send me those comments. All right, I will talk to you guys later, hopefully for another review. So, until then, peace out.